Welcome, guys. This is episode 3 of the B&B Show. We're super excited to be here again doing this. It's been 2 weeks since we put our last episode out. Well, pretty close to 2 weeks. But today we have Christian Hoch. Let's give him a round of applause here. Christian is someone that has been in our lives for probably a good majority of the last decade. He's a father. Yeah. He's a pastor. Ex-military, and just all around a really good guy. We love him as our brother and as our pastor, and we're just super excited to get into this today and talk about his life and his testimony. So we're excited. We're excited to get into it. So, Brady, got anything you want to throw in the intro?
Not really, man.
Appreciate the support. Support's been awesome recently on the videos.
Oh, I thought you meant from him.
Oh, no. I mean, I could make a joke about that as well.
You're looking good.
Yeah, but no, views have been awesome. Like all the support that we've seen, even just comments and what I've been hearing a lot recently from people, it's just been really encouraging. And it's just, we're just excited. Yeah. We're passionate and
we're going to keep going, even if it's just impacting just one person's life. And
that's right. Spreading the gospel to, even if it impacts one person's life.
The only thing that matters.
So yeah, Christian, let's, we'll have you introduce yourself. Just give us a few things, maybe fun facts, a little icebreaker about yourself that you could think of. Don't want to put you on the spot there, but
who is Christian Hoch?
Yeah, who is Christian Hoch?
Yeah, no, man, I number one, my hands are very clammy, but that's okay.
Yeah,
and
that's part of it.
I love you guys. I've been so privileged to get to watch you guys like grow into like these men, and now you're like bigger than me and stuff, so it's always fun. But a little bit about me. I'm married. I've been married for 17 years. I have 4 kids.
Let's go.
Yeah,
that's a big accomplishment there.
And they're all alive. Like
wow.
They are still alive, so that's awesome. They are Bentley is 13, Bailey is 11, Bennett is 4, and Baylor is 2.
Lots of B's in there.
Yeah, you see what happened there.
Yeah.
And we have a dog, Bella. There's another B. Don't know how that happened.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a circus at my house. So I guess right now, like I'm loving being in ministry. I love being a pastor. I love watching people get Jesus. And I think that's the thing that like keeps me going.
It's good stuff.
And my kids keep me going, obviously. And I have an amazing wife. My wife is my rock. Like, man,
let's go.
She
some
like
brownie points there. You know she's watching.
Yeah, babe.
You know she's watching.
It's Pastor Appreciation Month, you know, babe. Like, and she is rolling her eyes right now, saying, "I can't believe him." But on the real,
it's a good thing.
My wife is, man. I don't know where I would be without her.
Wow.
Same.
I don't know where my kids would be. I don't know, like.
Well, the thing is, you wouldn't know where your kids would be without your wife.
Right,
like quite
true.
Literally, like the location where they are, they're gone. Like you wouldn't know where they are, literally.
Yeah. And her and I's walk and story, like, man, God's good because we don't deserve any of those kids, and like God knew exactly when we needed those kids.
Wow.
So all of them are huge blessings, and she's probably the biggest blessing in my life besides my walk with Christ.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's me a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we can just jump right off the deep end here. I know it's been really difficult. We've been talking here for probably the last hour, and it's been very difficult to not just start getting into things before we're even recording. So we're antsy and we're excited to get into some things. Yeah. But I guess we could just I have a rough outline, and I always tell the guests, like I told Christian, but like we never actually stick to this. We always just kind of go on like our own rabbit holes and stuff. But one of the first things I have here is your childhood and your family background. Like, if you would just start hitting on what your childhood was like.
Where did you grow up?
Where did you grow up? State. What was your family dynamic? I think that there's a lot of things you can go in there, but just kind of give us a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up.
Yeah, so I grew up in, the majority of my life, I grew up in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania, which is like out by Messiah, and you guys know Messiah College.
Yep.
Man, I can't think of a better place I would want to grow up. It's funny because when you're living there and you're growing up there, it's like, man, I can't wait to get out of Dillsburg, Pennsylvania, you know, like, but now I'm thinking, I'm like, man, did we have it good, you know, like God was good. And I had great parents. I have a older sister. She's 4 years older than me, Alexis. And then I have a younger brother, Noah. He's out in San Diego now. My sister's out in Seattle with her family. And then my parents are still here in Harrisburg actually now. So, but yeah, I grew up in Dillsburg. Great group of friends, great community. Still have some really close ties, with friendships from that area. I don't get there as much as I should, you know.
Yeah.
I'm only an hour and a half away, 2 hours away. And, but yeah, I grew up there, went to, elementary school there, middle school there, high school there. I would say, yeah, go ahead if you got some other questions about that, but I can keep rolling.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say too, like from a young age in your childhood, I know like the big topic and things that we always talk about is just like faith-based stuff, but like, did your parents play a huge role in your faith growing up, and what did that look like, I guess? And we can go into more detail about your childhood and stuff, but I guess that's like a really big question that we'd have is just like, how did that play into your childhood and growing up in the church or faith or whatever that looked like? Yeah,
I was super, super blessed, man. My parents, raised us up from the moment. I mean, people ask me like, tell me your Jesus story. Like, how did you get to know Jesus? And I'm like, bro, like, I don't remember a time in my life that Jesus wasn't a part of my life. Mm-hmm. I don't remember being a kid and not talking about Jesus. My mom used to tell me like, I would walk down, like I would have had to have been less than 5 years old. Because up until 5, I lived in Middletown, Pennsylvania. And, she would tell me that I would go out, I would put on my like clip on tie, and I would walk out to the neighbors and stuff, and I would take out my Bible to them, and I'd knock on their doors and be like, do you know Jesus?
Wow.
And so it's kind of been a running theme in my life. My mom has always reminded me of that. And I've always just kind of like shoved it off. Like, yeah, I was a kid. Like, but yeah, I grew up in the church. I grew up in a Glad Tidings Assemblies of God. So, I was exposed to a lot of really great things. A lot of things, man. I learned I was baptized at 8. I chose to do that. My dad was fully supportive of that, my mom and dad. And I learned at a very young age how to worship, like through that church. Like I remember being in that church, and I still remember the songs that we used to sing, and I still remember what it was like to learn how specifically God wanted me to worship Him, which was really impactful. It really impacted I got to know God through worship. And I remember moments when my dad would stop me, or he would see me in worship, and I would be in the sanctuary with them worshiping, and people, you know, in AG, man, they raise their hands and they like, oh yeah, they in it. We had this awesome pastor. He's like running like up and down the stage. Like he's got a 3-piece suit on. He's like sweating, like just all like just drenched in sweat. And like I'm like, whoa, like we will enter the gates with things. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This guy's crazy. And my dad would be like, then there would be moments where my dad would be tender and sweet with me, and he'd just be like, hey. And he just like in a quiet whisper, he would be like, hey, I want you to know, like in worship, there's no right way to like do it. Just make it about you and God. And that means even sometimes if you need to just be quiet and just listen to the words and let it like come over you, let it permeate you, let it relate to you, and then worship from that position. Yep. And so, I mean, I'm talking young. I was young. Yeah. So Jesus was always a part of my life, man. Yeah, Sundays, childhood. Wednesdays, childhood, Jesus. Every Sunday, man, my mom she's like, get up, We going to church. And I'm like, as a teenager, you know, you're like, no.
Yeah.
She's like, you into my house.
Right.
We going.
Exactly. And it's just so crazy too how like you can be raised up in a household like that. And I'm not saying that you specifically, I think this just applies to everyone, but it's like, it's so crazy how you could be raised that way, but then drift so far away to the complete opposite side of everything that you were raised your whole life. And you see it happen so many times. And obviously I'm not sitting here claiming to be perfect. I grew up a pastor's kid, and I would be foolish to say that there hasn't been times in my life where I've drifted far away from Christianity. Not to the point to where I don't believe, but you know, you're living in sin, and it's like you need to get your head out of your butt.
Yeah.
So I just think that's so powerful, and I'm really excited, obviously, to get into your testimony and hear.
I don't think there's ever been a time in my life where I didn't believe.
Yeah,
no,
I agree.
But yeah,
yes,
that veering.
Right. Well, and then the question is, what is belief? Because it's like you can say you believe Christ. And you can speak something, but your actions prove otherwise. Right. So, that's super good.
Some theological
faith without works is dead.
Right. Faith without
exactly.
works is dead. But if you
but no, I get what you're saying though. Yeah. It's like subconsciously, it's like I know that Jesus is real and He is who He says that He is. But man, it's like when you get to those dark times when you're living for the world, it's like your actions don't prove that you believe that Jesus is who He says He is.
Number one, the other part that I learned from a very young age was this would be probably specifically from my mom. I shared a room with my brother, and I learned how to pray. Not in like a traditional legalistic kind of, and I don't hate, but the word legalistic sometimes is like overused. We'll just throw that at everything. But I learned from a relational standpoint how to pray and have conversation with Jesus. My brother and I at night would be like, every single night, he'd be on one side of the room, I'll be on the other side, and he would one of us would be like, hey, I'm praying. The other one would be like, hey, I'm praying too. And then when I was done praying, I would say, hey, I'm done praying. And then if he wasn't done, I would just be quiet. If he was done, he'd be like, yeah, I'm done now too. And then we would have conversation. But like, that was from such a young age. And those conversations with God were not, you're like, oh, dear God, watch me while I sleep.
It's literally just a conversation.
It was a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think if we're not careful, even me, like teaching my kids to like have that, it's all about relationship, right?
Wow.
So that was the other part. And then going to what you said about belief, I remember in this girl probably will never remember that she said this to me. And I won't say her name, but she'll know if she ever listens to this. She probably won't. But I think I was in I had to be in like middle school, I would think. And I remember this one girl just being like, I am so tired of these people calling themselves Christians and they don't act anything like Christians. And man, I took that. I took offense to that. And I said to her, and so then it was just her and I having this conversation. And I said, yeah, but I know that I remember at this young age, I was like, I know I'm not perfect though. Like, I'm not perfect, but I know that Jesus forgives me. Like there's this thing to forgiveness, and like, I'm not perfect, but I'm forgiven, yo. Like I can, that kind of like, well, I can do what I want and God will forgive me.
Yep.
And she'll never know the impact that had on me. I still remember that day. I still remember her. We weren't like close friends or anything. We were acquaintances, but she said that. And to this day, I think about like, man, actions speak so loud.
They do. Yeah.
So.
Very good. Yeah, I think the only other thing, you can chime in as well. I know I said that in the last podcast. We were making jokes about that. You can chime in as well whenever you want. But I guess an interesting question. I guess this isn't much about your childhood, but this can kind of transition to where, it kind of led into you going into the military. But where did it fall in the line of where you met Allie?
Oh, geez, this was way before Allie. I didn't meet Allie until, oh man, you're making me do like math. It was after my second.
Now you're
deployment.
losing the brownie points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the beginning, how you were like,
I
my
met Allie
wife, she's
in
so awesome.
2000. Oh man, 2006, I think.
Okay, so was
2007?
Was that post your deployment?
That was after my second deployment. Yeah.
Okay.
But that huge gap in there. There's a lot there.
How did you meet Allie?
So,
or would you rather?
Let's get to that.
Or would you rather start with your military career?
Yeah, I think,
then that kind of intertwines.
Yeah,
with,
because the military stuff happened, very specifically at a specific time. Man, I was never somebody that was going to go into the military. Like I was like you crazy. I don't want to I see it in my oldest son now. He's like, Dad, I don't want to go. I don't want to get shot at. I don't want to die. Like I'm like, nobody wants to die, right. Man. Like, and so I would say that like leading up to my military time. That's where it was like, man, I was a mess, bro. Mm-hmm. Like I was great at sports, through high school, like, but in high school, very early, and actually in like 8th grade, like middle school age is when I started already, I was in my summer between 7th and 8th grade, I was already drinking and smoking pot. Like I was already like going into these things and I didn't know what I was getting into. I just knew that it was whatever, like I was having fun. I was out camping and that's kind of stuff that
it just happens.
Yeah, dude, it just happens. And if you're not aware, if you're not being made aware, even like you don't know that it's happening until it's happened. And you're like, oh, so then all of a sudden everything becomes about that. Like that's your reward. Right. And so I started becoming, even in sports, like my reward for sports was, man, I get to go party. Like it was, and that's how school was. That's how I was a terrible student. Like, so then I went out of high school, but it continued because I was that good at running. So,
so we can transition then to, I guess, your high school. You could talk about a little bit about running. I actually don't even know much about that either. So I'm very interested as well. So,
all right. So I started running because my cousin said, hey, you should come out for this. It's called cross country. And I was like, what? I was like, what? And I was like, well, what do you do? And he's like, well, you run. And I was like, you run? He's like, yeah, it's like track, but not on a track. And I'm like, well, then where are you running?
Right.
And he's like, you run like miles around I was like, okay. Yeah, why not, man? Like, so running for me, he was like, this is how he got me. He's like, you could stay in shape for basketball. And we all know that the only people that don't like basketball are the ones that can't play basketball.
Very true.
So
true.
Greatest sport ever created.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
And so anyhow, I was still playing basketball. I was good. I wasn't, I was a starter all through, but I wasn't like, I had some friends that, man, they were ballers. Like they had the height, like they were ballers. But I loved basketball. I still do. And so he's like, you can stay in shape. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I'll do anything to stay in shape for that. So I started running my freshman year, and I was just doing it. I was like, this is stupid. Number one, like, why you guys keep time? It made no sense to me. Like, only 7 people score. Well, then why am I running? Because I didn't just come out of the womb a fast runner.
Right.
And so started running. About halfway through the season, at this point I'm running like, dude, I'm not kidding, I'm running like 24-minute 5Ks. Like just kind of like jogging, like hanging out with my friends. Well, my coach, there was an invitational, the Carlisle Invitational. It's a big invitational. And I'm a freshman and I go, and he's like, all right, here's the varsity runners and here's the JV runners. And I said, wait, what? He's like, yeah, you're running JV, Christian. And I was like, no, I am not a JV athlete.
It was a stab. It was a stab at your ego.
Dude, I was like, oh, this man is trying to tell me that I belong. Oh, no. So I ran. So the JV starts 2 minutes after the varsity starts the race. So they send off that race. And And so I had to wait 2 minutes, and I'm on the line, and gun goes off. I'm like, oh, you're going to see something.
Yeah, I'm going to shut you up.
I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
Dude, I think my PR at that point was probably a 23:30 or something. Like, it was nothing good. And I ran that race. I caught up to the varsity guys, and I was passing varsity guys. And I ended up running like a 17:30. And he was like, and we finished the race, and he's like, Hoch, somehow you scored. And I was like, I don't know what you mean by scoring, but you're never putting me in a JV race again. He's like, no, you scored for the team. You were in the top 7. We had like 30 some kids running. And I had started in the JV race. And so he was like, okay. And so that was it. From that point on, like, I learned that I could do this, number one, and I enjoyed the end result.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love accomplishing, right? And so I started running, and I actually ran so well as a freshman that I qualified for states in cross country. Now this was back then it was AAA. Now it's quad A. So it'd be like quad A now. So it wasn't like some slouch. And I think as a freshman, I scored 42nd in Pennsylvania in quad A for running for cross country.
Wow.
Which was crazy. And so then the next year I started running. Man, this progressed. I ended up being and then I started track. So then I'm running 4x8. I'm running the 4x8, the open 8, the mile, and the 2 mile every meet. And our 4x8 team is like blowing up the state. Like we're running. I think I was running. I don't know. Anyhow, I walked away high school with probably 22 district medals, more conference medals, state medal. I was a state medalist. Like I was. I think I ran a 16:0 something in high school.
On a 5K?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So what is that, like a 5? Is that a sub? That's not sub 5, right? That's what, a 5:15?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I can't do the math.
5:20.
5:20? Dude, that's wicked.
Yeah. So that was in high school. So then I started getting looks from colleges, but my grades, no. And so I had to get like some good grades, and then I ended up going to Elizabethtown College and running there. Now, mind you, through all through high school, like I'm partying, I'm going to church, but man, I'm on the altar every single Sunday because my life does not align with what's coming out of my mouth, and I knew it. Like there was still conviction in my life. Yeah. Even when I was walking away from it, and man, it was booze, it was drugs, and it was girls. Like that's the only thing that I live for. Just all these self-soothing, like everything, you know. So anyhow, kept running, got into Elizabethtown, didn't have to pay a dime. So I'm going to a private liberal arts school, and not having to pay anything.
Yeah. Talk about entitlement.
Dude, talk about entitlement, bro.
Yeah.
And
you're on top of the world.
Had no idea what I had.
Yeah.
So at this point, this coach gets a hold of me, this Elizabethtown coach. Man, his name's Chris Straub. He's the guy that I was telling you guys before this all started, like 6 months ago, killed himself. He was the most brilliant coach I have ever. He was like 15 years ahead of his time. Like back in 1999, he was teaching me about what lactate threshold was and what VO2 max was and how to like break through ceilings and like run in a way that you peak at the right times and like how to like do these willpower workouts that you would. Like 2.5 mile loops, you would do 9 of them would be your minimum, and then he wouldn't give you the max, so you would have to keep. And then your like recovery time would go from 2 minutes to 1:55 to 1:50 until you couldn't hit that window within plus or minus 5 seconds. Like this guy was so brilliant.
Wow.
he did his thesis with the Miami University's wrestling team. Like this guy, and it was all on visualization. And so he taught me about how to visualize and how to like the night before a race, he would get us all in a room, we would lay on the floor, and he taught us how to relax our bodies into breathing techniques and how to, we did the walkthrough of that race like the day before. And then all of a sudden I come the next day and that night you're imagining that race going, and then he's like, and now your shoes come untied. How are you going to deal with that? So it's like you get there to that Saturday or whatever day you're running the race and you've already ran it in your mind. So it was just wild how this guy worked, and he taught me so much, dude. I was running 4:19, I think I was running my miles at that time.
Wow.
I made it to nationals as a freshman. Like I got third place at the Mid-Atlantic Conference Championships. I got maybe, I don't know, like 5th at regionals. I qualified as an individual to go. I was top 3 freshman in the country. Like, now this is D3. But I made it to nationals in Wisconsin as a freshman, which was unheard of. This team that this guy put together the year prior to me coming was 24th in the conference. We finished 24th in the nation. Wow. That next year. Like, brilliant mind. And yeah, I ran, and that's when you were running 5-mile races now. And 23:45 was my national time. 23:45.
Wow, that's awesome.
So anyhow, all through college though, mess. It was the same story.
Yeah.
God was definitely not. He was an afterthought.
Wow. Through
that. And so I had to go in front of the academic board. This is kind of funny. Now it's funny. I walked away with like a 1.9 GPA from there. I'm such an idiot, dude. And they were going to let me come back. I had to go in front of the academic board in the summer and like plead my case or whatever. And I was like, I'll do better. And they're like, okay, Mr. Hoch, you can do better. And they were going to let me in, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I hated my life. Like, I hated myself. I hated my life. I was, doing a sport in college is like 2 full-time jobs. Like, you were around the same people all the time. Like, you ate, breathed, slept, like everything, the same thing over and over, and that's not good for me. And I just partied. I was a shell of a person.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing that, and I ended up bartending.
So was that your transition from graduating college then to...
So I didn't graduate college.
Oh.
I left after my freshman year.
Okay.
Welcome to the club.
And this kind of ties into the other part of your testimony, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you kind of go back to school, post all this stuff.
That's all after military and everything, yeah, which you can get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But yeah, so at this point now, I'm kind of just like floating around, man. But this is crazy, dude. The kid that I roomed with at Elizabethtown, his name's Mike Zwadi. Like, what a guy, dude. Like, Christian man. Like, he was a man at 18 years old.
Wow.
He ran for a high school that I ran against too. And I love you, Mike, if you ever listen to this. But my thought on him from a running standpoint was like, man, this guy's not clutch. Like, he's not a clutch runner. Meaning he didn't show up for the big days.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was a clutch guy. Like, all that weight, that stress made me better. Because I realized that very early on in running that it's 90% mental,
of course,
10% ability.
Yep.
You have to have like a predisposition for like whatever you do, whatever your body does in the Krebs cycle with the ATP and ADP.
Yep.
Like, you got to have that predisposition to be really elite. But man, it doesn't matter how much that works if you don't have the mind for it.
Of course,
that's it. And I think that's probably with a lot of the individual type sports, swimming, wrestling, like all that stuff. It's a mind. It's a battle of the mind.
Well, basketball is the same way.
Basketball, yeah. Like, you got to get
it's
in
all
your
visual.
Yes.
It's all seeing the ball go in the hoop.
Yeah.
Aim for the back of the rim.
Consistency, reps. Like, it's so.
Yeah, sorry, that was like crazy rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know, but we're good at that.
But anyways.
So Mike Swati, right? This guy. So I ran against him in high school, and next thing I know, I show up to college and he's my roommate. And I'm like, oh, this Christian kid is my roommate.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, well, I know Jesus, I love Jesus. None of my actions spoke to that, bro. I was terrible, man. I was liars. I would whatever manipulation I could to get what I wanted. That was just the mindset. Mm-hmm. And he kind of started, he's the first person that ever told me that I had a lust issue. And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, what are you talking about? What is that word? Like, I don't, whatever, dude. And he's like, yeah, man, it's lust. And he was so patient with me. Like, he was so patient with me. That man now, I don't deserve that. And so after I left college, he actually asked me to go to Creation with him, that Creation Festival thing that they do.
Yep. No way.
And this was after I was already out of school, and I was bartending and stuff, and I went, changed my life. You know those times when God shows up? This is one of them. Like, God changed my life. Like, and I actually got baptized again there in that,
that's really cool.
That pond there. And I left and I came back and I was working again and bartending and stuff. And I kid you not, like, you ready for a story? I'm sorry, I got all these stories. But
no,
you knew what you were getting into.
No, this is awesome.
I'm bartending, right? And we were a jazz club, man. This was a really cool bar. It was a jazz and cigar bar, and we had live jazz every night. And then it was the service restaurant was a 4 Diamond restaurant, and like so the maitre d' over here, he was like, I don't know, a friend or whatever, but we drank a lot together. And he's like, hey Christian, he's like, somebody keeps calling you at work. And I'm like, nobody cares about me enough like to call me. They'll see me later tonight. And he's like, all right, whatever. I was like, what's his name? He's like, I don't remember his name. I was like, okay. He comes and finds me again. He's like, this guy is on the phone right now for you, some coach. And I was like, what? This is right after I get back from Creation. And I'm sitting before work starts. Like, I was working double shifts, and I was sitting in this like little window place, like praying. And this girl comes up that I worked with for years, never knew she was a Christian, nothing. She comes through, she opens the doors, and I'm the only one in there. We don't know each other really well. And she just goes, I want you to know that God has a very specific plan for you. It's big, and he's got a plan for you. What she didn't know was that my prayer was, God, what now? I got no idea what you want me to do. I'm living, I'm back in this life that I have led sinfully for so long, and I have now found you, and you've given me the peace of you. And what, I'm just supposed to do this again? Like, I don't see this going well. And she comes in and she says that to me, and I was just like, it was kind of one of those first times that God ever like spoke through somebody to me. And so I was just like, that's awesome. This is hours after that. Just hours after that, I'm getting a phone call from somebody. I have no idea what they're talking about. I think it's a prank. This guy, Matthew, who's like a maitre d', is like, you need to take this call. I take the call. Here, this guy's name is Gish. His name is Gish.
Gish.
He goes, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm working. Like, who's this? He's like, hey, I'm a coach down at Hagerstown Junior College in Maryland, and classes start in 3 weeks. I heard you're not running for anybody. Would you come down and go to school and run here? And I was like, what? It's like, how do you even know who I am? He's like, my younger brother ran with you in high school, and I know he told me that you're not running anymore at Elizabethtown. And he calls me out of nowhere and says, all you got to do is show up for classes. We have an apartment for you. We have books for you. Everything's paid for. Just come. And I went.
Wow. So what was the time frame on that? So when you were bartending, how old were you? Where were you in college? Were you a freshman, junior?
So remember, like, this part of my life was pretty blurry. I was probably 20 or 21.
So you were maybe heading into your senior year
of
college.
Remember, I wasn't in college. I was bartending. I quit college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was
working
having
at
a
this
hard time
point,
tracking
not going
that.
to school, just
That makes sense.
living. I was a mess. Like, I was probably 21. And I told my boss about it. He's like, go.
Yeah.
I was like, sweet.
But you were like still eligible, obviously, to still
I
run
had 3
in
years
school
of
and stuff.
eligibility.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went down there, and this will also speak into a question that I bet you have, is where was I on 9/11? So I went down to Hagerstown, and I started running, and I got an injury with my IT band. And it just wasn't going well. I met a girl that I had gone to high school with. She was a Christian. I was a Christian, and it wasn't, but we weren't acting like it. And that happened lots of times. But so it just, again, it didn't. I ended up bartending again while I was going to school and trying to run. But for some reason, man, I'm running at these big indoor events and stuff, and I'm still able to pull off, like, with no training, a 4:30, 4:35 indoor mile. We're not even like. Man.
Sounds like John Jones.
Dude.
Partying the night before and then UFC champion the next day.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was crazy life. And so anyhow, I'm there at Hagerstown when 9/11 happened, and I remember what I was doing. I was sitting there, and you know, I'm a sports guy, so I turned on ESPN, and I'm getting ready for class, which surprisingly I was going that day. And crazy, it was a world civilizations class, mind you. So history class. This lady, man, I don't even remember her name, but I hope she hears this. I know, I'm sorry, Jesus. She would bring her 2 little dogs to class all the time. Ugh. Anyhow, I'm sitting there and I'm eating a bowl of cereal, and I had 2 roommates on both sides of the apartment. And I'm watching ESPN, and then it just like blacks out. I'm like, what? I just want to watch some sports. And it's New York, and it's the first tower had been hit. They didn't know what was going on. They just thought, like, well, maybe a plane flew into it, maybe, like, who knows, an explosion, or they had no idea what was going on. They started to kind of be like, we don't know if this was intentional, but listen, up until this point, there was really nothing like this. Like, not in my lifetime. There was, I mean, like in the 80s, like Beirut and stuff, but in my lifetime, on our soil, man, no, this was odd. And so I'm eating, and I'm like, okay, I'm switching the channel, trying to find something else, but it's on every channel. And so I go back to ESPN. I'm like, I'll just wait this out. Next thing I know, I'm watching the TV, and a plane just goes right into the next one. And I'm like, cereal's like dropping out of my mouth and milk. And I'm just like, and my roommate's in the shower. I'm like, bro, get out here. Like, another one just went into another building. And man, I didn't know what the World Trade Center was back then. Like, I didn't care about that stuff. But all I knew, then everybody was just like, yo, we're under attack.
Wow. And
so at this point, my brother was up at Slippery Rock University, and he wrestled for them. And then, so then the Pentagon, then up there, I forget where it is, up north in Pennsylvania, where the other one went down. But all this stuff is happening, and like, and I remember just sitting there watching it. And my running coach at that point came up and was like, hey, what do you guys think? He was an Army vet. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to think? It's weird. But then it started to get real. So then I went to class. I had to go to class. So I go to class, to a history class. And this woman brings in her 2 little dogs, and everybody's just like, and we're all watching. And remember, I'm in Hagerstown, Maryland. Like, it's not too far from DC and Quantico. Oh, wow. Yeah. And she comes marching in, and she's like, well, turn the TV off. And everybody's like, no, like, this is literally history happening. And she was like, nope, turn the TV off. Doot. And next thing you know, like, a girl gets up, and she's like crying, and like she leaves the room. And then next thing I know, another person stands up, and they're crying, and they leave the room. And then somebody important comes in and is just like, talk like whispers to the professor, and the professor's like, okay, everybody, we're going to go home. And so we left. And so that was like my experience with that. So these people that were standing up, their parents were like involved in, and like the Pentagon one. So so that was kind of my experience with 9/11. Kind of changed everything at that point.
Yeah, did 9/11 have anything to do with you having that urge and desire to serve in the military?
It made it easier, but man, I went back and started bartending again, man.
Just back in your old ways.
Back in, like Peter was like, I'm going fishing. And so I went fishing. And I started bartending again, fell back into the kind of the same thing, but stuff started happening. And I just saw where I was going. And like all these people I was around in that industry, I was like, I was turning into them. And I can't be like that. God started pulling me. I know God started pulling me. So once again, God pulled me, and I was like, okay, like, let's do this. Because I left Hagerstown. I didn't tell you that part. Again, I left another college. Didn't get great grades there either. And I went back home, found a place to live, and started bartending again. And I amped it up though this time. Like girls, like
when you got back home,
drinking every night, like man, partying, after hours clubs, like drugs, and just like man, anything. I was such a disappointment to myself, and potential. I was a whole big ball of potential. And knowing that your potential and what God could have done, how he could have used you, and like all the people you disappoint, all that shame, all that guilt that you carry around, you just start numbing it out. And so I just started numbing stuff out, man. So
what time period was that for you?
I was 22.
And were
22, 23.
When you were going through all those things?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? Were you just, I know you touched on it a little bit, but were you just like, I don't know what my calling is. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, did
it get to that point to where you were just like questioning everything? Man. Like, why am I even here?
I was causing like my parents, like I was living with them, then I wasn't living with them, and like I was just this up and down. I had a underage DUI at some point that I had to go to class, like an ARD class for. Couldn't drive, man. I was turning into the industry. Like, wow. And so God has a way, man. Like nothing can separate you from his love. Nothing created can separate you from his love. That includes you. So
good.
And so he loved me so much that he reminded me that he sent his son. So I think the decision to go into the military was part of, man, I need to get my life together.
It was a wake up call decision for you.
Yeah. And remember, mind you, we'll get into that. At this point, I still didn't want to go die for my country. Like nobody wants to go die for their country. They want to come back. And think about when I'm joining, 2003.
Right.
Like there's a war going on.
Yeah.
And so I thought the safest thing to do was to go talk to a recruiter that I went to high school with. And that was not the safest thing to do. Because if you know anything about recruiters, well, I thought we were boys, man. That was not true. That's all right. I forgive him.
What's the story on that? Does that kind of transition you to...
Well, yeah. So remember, like, I'm still entitled. Like, I'm still struggling and wrestling in my own first world country kind of problems with God. And like, man, and what do you want from me? And what is my purpose? What is this? Man, I didn't even know what this kind of stuff was. I didn't know how to read my Bible. Like, I didn't know any of these things. I don't know if I love my parents, but I didn't get to watch them read the word, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not careful even now as a father, I need my kids to watch me read the word.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
And I'm not great at that. I get up early to do that. Like, I'm trying, guys. But so yeah, I was like, what's the safest thing I could do and join the military?
But to get your life in order.
But to get my life in order.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Navy. Yep. So I did all the testing and stuff, and mind you, I'm a mess. I'm a mess. I'm not really living anywhere at this point. Like, I'm crashing at friends' houses all the way down in Shippensburg University, like living there for months. Like, dude, I haven't thought about this for a long time. I was such a mess, man. I remember eating cans of tuna with like mustard just because I was so hungry, but I needed to save my money so I could go to the bar and get a few drinks.
Wow.
Disgusting, dude. Like, and my kids are going to hear all this now. That's okay.
That's what's so powerful about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm like, I go in and I walk into the recruiter's office, and remember, this is like wartime, and man, we were in the heat of the war, kind of. We were really ramping up in 2003, and so I went in and I saw him and I took all these tests, and he's like, well, what are you thinking of doing? I'm like, I don't know, I'm thinking of like cryptology, because it seemed really cool. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, man, like we can wait a few months for that. Like right now it's not in a high need, but now knowing that he's a recruiter, like his job is to sell what they need. And what they needed at that point was corpsmen. And I was like, a what? He's like, a corpsman. And I was like, I don't know what that is. He's like, it's like a really cool job, dude. He's like, you're just in hospitals all the time with like really hot nurses and stuff. And I was like, oh, where's the dotted line?
Wow.
Like,
So he was good at his job.
Oh yeah, man. And he knew me, like. So I'm such an idiot sometimes, dude. And I was like, yeah, man, this is going to be great. And like, I remember, this is how gullible I was, man. You spell corpsman, CORPSMAN. I knew nothing about the military. So I was like telling all these people, I went to the bar then. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the military. I'm going to be a corpsman. That's like, oh man, dude, looking back, you know, you do and say things, you're just like, that was so dumb.
Cringe a little bit.
You cringe, super cringe, dude. And so that's kind of, so I signed up, and I went off to boot camp at 22 on December 15th of 2003. He got me on a bus and a plane like that.
Wow.
I didn't go through any MEPS. I didn't even know what MEPS was. I didn't even know what it stood for. I was like, I'm like waiting to get on the bus to go to boot camp in a hotel that they get you, which is all seedy and like just gnarly. And there's all these other people, recruits that are there, and they're like, man, how'd you do in MEPS and stuff? I was like, what? Who? And they're like, MEPS. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, what are you gonna be? And I'm like, I'm gonna be a corpsman. And they're like, oh, you're going to be a corpsman. And I was like, corpsman? Yeah. Yep. I'm going to be a corpsman.
That's what I meant.
They were like, oh, man, my brother was a corpsman. You have you know what you're doing? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm going to be a corpsman. I'm going to hang out with hot girls and the nurse. And I'm going to hang out with hot nurses in the hospital all day long. And they're like, uh-huh.
Right. And
so I get on this bus, and they take me, and I get off the bus. They're yelling at me. They're yelling at me, man. I'm like, so this is December 15th. I turned 23 on December 17th. They did not like me because I didn't know any rank structure. First I get off this bus, they buzz your head, like you start polishing boots and stuff, and like making beds and stuff, and like I'm like, my mom does all this stuff.
Right.
And they get in my face like the first time, and they're like yelling at me in my face, like looking down at me, and like just in everything. Like you feel like they just ate you. And he's like, what are you looking at? And I'm like, I'm not looking at nothing. I don't know. Nothing. I'm not looking at anything. I'm sorry. He goes, you're sorry? You sure are sorry. And I was like, I mean, I apologize. He's like, what are you apologizing for? What are you apologizing? I'm like, at this point, I don't know. He goes, aren't you? And I didn't answer him right. I was like, I think I said Sergeant. I'm like, I don't know, Sarge or something. And he's like, oh, no. Dude, his head just like explodes. And he's like, I'm no Sarge. I'm a petty officer. And I said, you're a what? He said, a petty officer. And I said, you're a petty officer. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that doesn't sound odd to you? Like you're petty?
Oh my God.
It was not good, man. And from that point on, dude, my face was like in cement all the time, just like PTing, man. Like they were just like push-ups, Hoke, push-ups. I'm like, oh my gosh. So anyhow, I go through all the boot camp. I get to the end of the boot camp, still not understanding what I signed up for. And they start handing out orders. And they're like, Hoke. And I'm like, yeah. Because you're brainwashed by this point. You're just like, anything you say, just don't send me back because I don't want to be here any longer than I have to be. And he's like, you going to 29 Palms, California? And I was like, yes. And he was like, why are you happy? And I was like, 29 Palms, man. Like palm trees, California. That's what I wanted. I picked San Diego. He's like, he's like, you think you're going to San Diego? He goes, you go to the middle of the Mojave Desert. And I was like, what? I was like, there's no water in the Mojave Desert. He goes, exactly. He goes, Hoke, you're a corpsman? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you didn't tell us that. And I was like, well, what's wrong with that? He's like, you're no longer a Navy boy. You're in the Marines. And I was like, I am not going to the Marines. I didn't sign up for the Marines. They're like, you're going to the Marines, man. This is 29 Palms, California. You're going with 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines. And I was like, I am not. I need to talk to somebody. My recruiter said, and they were like, just started. Dude, they lost it. They were like, Hoke, you're dead, man. You have no idea what you're doing. They're like, you're going across the street for hospital corps school. They're going to teach you how to like give people Motrin and water. And then they're going to teach you about the body, and like you're going to learn how to be a Marine after that, after you go to field medical school. And I'm like, you guys have got it all wrong. I need to talk to somebody now.
Someone lied to me.
Somebody lied to me. Like, where's my representative? And they're like, Hoke, shut your mouth. And I'm like, oh. Sure enough, I had to go to field medical school after that, which is like this, like it's Marines teaching us how to be Marines, while also other corpsmen that are experienced in warfare teaching us how to be trauma medicine orientated. So how to be basically like battlefield medics.
Yeah.
And so that whole thing with corpsmen is once you get through that field medical school, now you get your shield, which is your caduce, but it's the green side caduce, and that's a big deal. Like that's a really big deal. And so now you go to a unit if you're green side, which I was, and that unit you got to earn the right to be called a doc. And so. I went to 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines in the middle of the Mojave Desert in 29 Palms, California. And if you ask anybody, it is the worst. I would rather be deployed than go there. That's how bad it was.
Mm. So a lot of training that went into.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of training.
That whole season of.
Yeah, I really ended up. So I would say the transition for me to where I became like fully engaged and entrenched and believing what I was doing was right, and it was righteous, and like I believed in it. That probably started in boot camp, and then by the time I got through field medical school, it was fully there. I was ready. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No, you're fine. We're not in a rush. We're not in a rush at all. I was just looking at my watch. I can't believe we've already been doing this for an hour.
Oh, Tate.
That is crazy.
Oh.
Tate, are you good with everything? I guess we can kind of do like a little checkup here on everything. I was gonna say let's move these flowers real quick because I think it's attracting like a jungle of bugs.
Fruit flies
or flies or whatever. So
good time for a break because my back is broken.
Oh really? Yeah. Well, I guess you guys, if you need to use the restroom at all, we can take a little break. But
I couldn't stop moving.
Really? Yeah. Alrighty. So we left off first deployment.
Yeah. So I get to 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, right? Which is in 29 Palms, California. It's literally in the middle of the Mojave Desert. It's past like northeast of Palm Springs. Like it's bad.
Brutal.
It's brutal. So the story is that the Air Force actually, it was an Air Force base, but they deemed it unsuitable for human life. And so the Marines came in and were like, we'll take it.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it was brutal. It was so hot, and some of the hardest things I've done and some of the greatest memories, but getting there, right? So I walk in there and they had just gotten back from a deployment and it was a brutal deployment. And so I walked into my room that I was assigned, no sheets, no nothing, just a mattress. And whoever was my roommate literally trashed his room and then went on leave. I mean, trashed, like I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I'm in the wrong place. Like I was crying. It was bad. And at this point in my life, God hadn't softened me enough to really cry a whole lot, but I was crying. And my dad was like, man, God bless that man, because he was just like, you just got to keep your head down, bro. Like you got to keep going. You got to. This is good. Like let it come. And I was like, all right. So he talked me down, and I was there for a little bit. We had 3 months until we were deploying again. So I started doing pre-deployment stuff, workups. We did like RCACs, and I think at some point I went to Bridgeport for like cold weather mountain training and some other nasty stuff. But I got really good at what I did. I got really good at medicine, and I got really good at being a rifleman. Did
you find that medicine was something that you became very passionate about?
Yeah. But to be honest with you, I was more, I loved battle. I loved learning these things that I was like a sponge when it came to like what the Marines were teaching me too. Like some of these guys became like really close to me. Like I was really brothers, man. Like, and so what I found out from an early age in the military is that I actually loved patrolling. I loved learning about dispersion and like ways of like I loved close quarter combat. Like man, I loved it. Now your first deployment, you're a boot, man. You don't know nothing. And we were going to Fallujah, and I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it couldn't have been good because my roommate stabbed himself in the leg so he didn't have to go on another deployment. No. Yeah, dude. He was crazy. Yep. Just wow. And guess what? He still had to go.
No. Yeah, wouldn't that disqualify you to get dishonorably discharged?
Oh, no. These are Marines. Like,
so that was just a phase in time in the military too, where they just didn't give a rip. Like you're not getting out of this at all.
No, you can't get out of this, man. Good luck. Good luck.
So what year is it at this point?
This is 2004.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was 2004, like late summer. And so this place was, I mean, I got there, got to know this other kid. He killed himself because he didn't want to go. That was fun. That was not fun. That's not what I mean. What I mean was it was difficult. That was difficult. On the range, somebody ate around, like just took his life. It was just so rampant because people were they were already tired, and I'm going for my first trip. and I was terrified. Like, I didn't let anybody know I was terrified. I was a badass, man. Like, I was like, I'm not, man. And I had the worst, dude. I had to like forgive this guy, and he doesn't even know that I had to forgive him. And I won't go into that because I don't want to put that stuff out there. But I didn't have I had really good Navy leadership there, and I had, oh man, this one, my gunny, man, he was, I got in trouble so many times still. I learned how to like work hard and play harder. That's what I learned, because you didn't know if tomorrow was coming. So man, you just lived and loved like whatever you got. So we did all that pre-deployment stuff. Then I ended up going to on deployment, and so I ended up in Fallujah at that point. That was my first deployment, and that was more CQB stuff, like more close quarter combat.
Like what was the purpose of what your squad was doing in Fallujah at the time? Like what was kind of your mission in that deployment?
It was definitely not hearts and minds at this point. At this point, it was survive. It was like, this was when we were getting that city ready for their first ever elections.
Okay.
And so I was in what they called the pizza slice. I stayed in a palace, blown out palace. Well, first I was at a flour factory, which was right on the Euphrates, and then the Blackwater Bridge. Do you know when I say Blackwater Bridge?
I don't think so.
The Blackwater Bridge is where the Blackwater guys got hung up on that bridge by chains, and then they were ripped down and taken through the city. Like thousands of people just ripped them apart, and like, so the Blackwater Bridge then was one of our ECPs, and then there was a street Elizabeth, and it was the marketplace, and then it would come down, and like, man, it's so weird that I remember all this stuff, because think about how long ago this was for me.
Yeah.
But I know that city of Fallujah like the back of my hand.
Wow.
I could draw you a map, like intricate map of how much I was in and lived and eat and breathed that city. Dude, there's something that happens that I never thought would happen, but with everything in me, I want to go back there. I have no idea why. Like, oh man, why am I getting emotional about that? Anyhow, so we stayed in this palace. It wasn't a palace. It was a blown out, like, we overtook this palace and commandeered and like turned it into like where we were going to stay in the city. And it was like right on the southern end of the pizza slice. That was after the flour factory. We moved from the flour factory to this palace, and we really just kind of pushed through the city at this point. That was the objective, was to push through the city and clear any remaining, like, we call it a mouge, like out of that area. So any insurgents, that was our mission. And we did it any way possible. Like, whatever needed to be done is how we did it. And then they had their elections. And then it was more about maintaining that ground. So that was my first deployment.
Yeah.
That was a tough deployment. That was more, like I said, it was more like close quarter stuff.
Yeah. And what was that like too? Like, you were kind of saying that, you know, after seeing those guys, some of those guys that were taking their lives.
Yeah.
And you just said that you were nervous heading into that. How did your perspective change in? Man,
I think ignorance is bliss. Let me tell you that. Because when I first got there, this was back when we thought we were like safe in the Humvees we were in. Bro, we had like maybe a 1/4 inch thick of this green, I don't know, it's not up armor, it's some sort of armor.
Yeah.
But an open Humvee, our the Humvee then had like 2 crossbars, and then your 2 guys, your driver and your A driver would sit like up there, and it's open. There's nothing on it. So we would tie, like we would 550 cord plywood to the top of that, and we would use a Humvee tire, and then we would plop our 240 on that, and that was our turret.
And you thought you were invincible.
We thought we were invincible, man. If I was behind that like green stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, you can't get me. So ignorance is bliss. Yeah.
Now, did you have any run-ins on that deployment at all?
Yeah. That was.
And what's that like going from just normal civilian life to war zone?
Yeah, like
in a way,
you just don't. I don't know, like. I just remember being like, you get. There was this thing. I won't go too deep into it.
Yeah.
But there was this thing. I remember where we would allow people to come in and out, like patrols were able to come in and out just in our little palace area thing. And on the wall, spray painted on the wall, was complacency kills. And so every time you exited, every time you were on some sort of fire watch or behind, I was sitting behind like a 240, like I knew what I was doing. Like, you just sat and you looked at that complacency kills, and it was on this blown out, like, it's another thing I could probably draw you because I remember it, like
just
it's ingrained in my mind. Yeah. There was a lot of, I was exposed to so much culture, different culture, like bad culture, like beatings of women and disregard for kids, and like, dude, it was just the culture. Even the culture was a shock. It was third world. It was nothing that worked. It was all dirty. Like I went like weeks and weeks and weeks without a shower, like basic necessities. I was pooping in like blown out buildings. Like, I don't know, man. I was sleeping that deployment. Like, we were going from house to house sometimes. So I remember I have pictures of me and my squad sleeping in a chicken pen, like in their feathers and turds. Like,
wow.
We used to heat up coffee with C4. Like, I don't know. These are all like who does that? You know, slice a bit of C4 off, light it on fire, and man, your water was hot like instantly. And we'd do coffee with that. Like, so you can never prepare for something like that.
Yeah, it's almost like an out of body experience. Like, it's so different from what you were used to and what you knew that it was just like you weren't even really there.
Yeah.
Like you were almost not experiencing things like the things were experiencing you. Like, you weren't honestly, truly like aware of what was actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I was so fortunate now looking back. Like, I was so fortunate to have guys that had like, that was some of those senior guys, it was their 3rd deployment already.
Right.
In 2004 to 2005.
Man.
So these guys, I didn't know it at the time either. And I think that's what's hard is I took it for granted. I was more concerned about being like, yo, I'm not a boot anymore. Like, I'm tough. I'm hard.
Yeah.
And these guys are like, man, they looked out for me. And I don't know, man. I don't know if I don't know how I can express that. But if there's something that I would like walk away from all of this is I was so blessed to have people that, even though I took it for granted, man, they taught me so much, so much leadership. They taught me what it's like to be ready for anything. They taught me what it's like to have your brother's back. Like, they taught me like, man, I never thought for a moment that one of those guys wouldn't take a round for me.
Well, it's almost like you can't do what you were doing without that being true.
Yeah. And you don't realize that that's really happening until you're through it. There's guys, my first deployment was really hard. I came back extremely angry for no reason. I didn't know why. So angry, dude.
Angry at what?
I don't know.
Just people in America living the lives that they were living? Like,
nope. I was just angry. I was so angry.
Just your heart was filled with anger.
Yeah.
What was your walk with the Lord like?
That's what I was
at
just
that
about to
time.
get to,
Yeah, that's a great question.
Where were you
like,
at in your faith journey through
through that first deployment? Where
I
did
think
you
it was
start to find
absent.
yourself?
Nope, I didn't find it then. It was my second deployment.
Mm.
My first deployment, I hated everything and everybody.
Wow. I feel like it does that a lot for people.
Yeah. It's definitely a clear sign that something's not right. And I didn't know that everything that I was starting to experience were signs. Because they knew, like, listen, I did that for 8 months and I came back for 7 months and then left again for you think they want to spend any time with working on my mind and what's going on for 7 months when I'm just leaving? I start workups, like 5 months before we even go, right. Like they're not worried about that. Wow, they're like, I want you angry. Yeah. I want you to hate. I want you to be so fired up that like, I'm not, and that's nothing. I'm trying not to like, that's how I was.
Right. Yeah.
I was angry. I fell right back into like, man, I was partying so much and like, oh my gosh, my goodness, dude. I was like such a mess. I would go on these benders, man. Anything too. It was like weekend benders where just alcohol and drugs, and like, you can't do drugs, right? Because you're getting tested all the time, but it doesn't always happen.
Now, are you just trying to escape everything what's truly going on?
I was doing anything I could to like be just numb, and I felt so guilty and ashamed. Wow. I felt like I needed to like atone for stuff. I don't know. It's just an awful feeling. Mm-hmm. But I ended up then, like, my second deployment. I'm not in a good headspace at this point for my second.
I was going to say, let's transition to now where the Lord really starts working in your life.
So my second deployment at this point now, I was like a senior line corpsman. So I was in charge of a team of other corpsmen. And it's funny, man, how God works. I was supposed to be, when you're a senior line corpsman, you're kind of you're more in the rear now. You're not, man, like, listen, what I was doing in Fallujah was front line stuff. Like, you're all you do is patrol the city on foot. Like, you're praying that you get in a Humvee at one point to do a patrol, because you're out for 3 or 4 hours, and then there's only 2 of me per 45 of those guys of the Marines. So that means if there's 3 squads, guess what? Me and the other corpsman, we got to split up who's doing the double. So if they're going out for 4 hours and then another squad goes out and he goes with them, and then 4 hours later the other squad goes out, I'm back out with another squad. So it's like, dude, I was like, I was probably in the best shape of my life, because I was like running around with like gear. That's all my gear.
I was gonna say that this might sound a little ignorant. I'm just not well versed in that arena. But like, are you, when those guys are patrolling city, keeping people out, it's terrorist, right?
Yeah. I mean,
like you're keeping people out of out of that zone that you were talking about,
right?
As a medic or corpsman, are you going with those guys while they're doing all that stuff? And you're it's not like you just have medic stuff on you. Like, I had you're equipped with all your gear.
M16A4 was my, corpsmen are supposed to get 9mm.
That's what I was asking. I didn't know if the corpsmen actually carried the same type of equipment that the frontline Marines would be.
Nope. I didn't even. My issued weapon was a 16, an M4 or an A4, a 16A4, and so they gave that to me, and I was like, "What? Like, I'm supposed to have like a little pea shooter. Like, give me the 9mm."
Right.
And they're like, "Doc, you don't want a 9mm. You want this." And I was like, "Yeah, but like, I don't know if I really know what I'm doing with this bad boy. And they're like, oh, you're going to find out. And I'm like, okay. And so at that point, I was so sold. I thought I was like, I'm it. Because I was one of the first corpsmen like around, like anywhere that I knew of was getting issued. Their standard issue was an M16. They didn't even give me a 9mm. And so I'm deployed, right? And they pulled me out of the city for like a week, which is unheard of. So I could get my warfare device. They wanted me to study and they wanted me to understand the Marine Corps, you know, like it's called the Fleet Marine Force Warfare Specialist. And so that's a special device that you get. You actually study like everything about the Marines. You study all of the weaponry, like that, like your M16 is like gas powered, shoulder fired. Like you needed to know how far, how fast and how far the round would go, like all of these different things, right? And so I get to the board. So you have to take this test. You have to pass this test. So I passed the test. And then you have to go in front of a chief board, right? And there's these chiefs, man, chiefs. I was an E2. You ain't supposed to talk to chiefs. Like, scared of them, man. They were scary. The one guy, he would always tell me, he's like, Hope, why are you always looking at me like I got something growing out of my forehead?
Couple cuss words in there.
Yeah. And I'm like,
I could tell you were trying to filter them out.
Yeah, I'm like,
I appreciate
Chief,
that.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think there's anything growing out of your head. I think you look just fine. He's like, are you saying that I don't have something growing out of my head? I was like, it was just, well, so I'm standing in front of these guys and I got another guy with me who is like one of the logistic guys. We used to call him Pogues. Like, and so I got this Pogue corpsman who's sitting next to me. He thinks he's all Billy Bad. And I'm like, bro, I'm like on vacation. You guys have no idea. Like I'm getting sleep right now. This is amazing. And they're like, all right, take your weapons out. And like he takes his weapon out. He's like, all right. He's like, disassemble it and then assemble it. He's like, he's like, here you go. They're like, Hoke. I'm like, uh-huh. They're like, take your weapon out, disassemble and assemble it. And I'm like, clunk. And I'm like they're like, what in God's name is that? And I was like, it's my weapon. They're like, where's your 9mm? And I was like, I don't have one. They're like, you don't have a 9mm? And I was like, no, this is my only. They're like, take his and do it. And I was like, I don't know how. And they were like, so then they like start whispering and I'm like, this guy doesn't, they didn't know what to do with me because they were like, well, we can't, do we fail him? And they're like, well, we can't fail him because his issued weapon, he knows how to take apart and put together. And he's, so they were fine with me, but that's how,
wow.
Yeah. So no, man, I was on the ground with these guys. Like, I remember like, you know, doing stuff like, man, whatever they did, I did. Like I was with them. Now they would try and put me in different places on the patrol. So like if 10 guys, like if a squad's going out for a patrol, remember disbursement is so key. Like, so I don't want to be too close because if an IED goes off, it's going to get more people. So they would put me, you know, maybe 2 guys back from the point man, or they put me like 3 guys up. So they try and switch me up. So if people are watching, that they're not going to blow me up, because if they blow me up, everybody else, like, they're gonna look at each other like, well, who's gonna put a tourniquet on each other? And they're like, I don't know how to do it.
Right.
So they protected me and I protected them. Like that was the cool thing. But yeah, no, everything that they did, I did. That was the cool thing, and like also the scary thing.
Yeah.
Because nobody prepares you for that, especially your recruiter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so that was first deployment, second deployment.
Yeah. I was gonna say, sorry, yeah, we kind of went on a rabbit trail there, but okay. Yeah,
I feel like I'm just talking, and like if you guys have things that you want to say, like go ahead and ask.
Yeah, no, this is great. We want it to, obviously everything that we're talking about now and you're talking about now is going to lead to, you know, ultimately how Jesus performed a miracle in your life and how you ended up being a pastor. Yeah, which we're going to get to. Yeah, so just keep going. Like you said, you said you kind of had an encounter with the Lord maybe on your second deployment.
Second deployment. Now number one, I'm trying to think of how like some of all this stuff happened.
You were saying you were saying before we went in that rabbit hole. You were saying that the second deployment was now you kind of moved up in the ranks a little bit.
Yeah. So I was a senior line corpsman, right?
Yeah.
And so I was supposed to be like in the rear, like just enjoying life a little bit.
Yeah.
Like sleeping in a bed every night, not a chicken coop. Well, unfortunately, I had a guy, he was killed. A corpsman got killed. So I had to go out to his, and I had to assume now his role with, which was what I was doing in my first deployment. So I was with a platoon, and I was just assuming that role now. And it happened pretty. Actually, I think it was like the first or second week that we were there.
So your vacation deployment turned into.
No, it was not at all. It was like, that was the story of my military life. Like, it didn't really seem to go my way sometimes. From recruiter on.
And are you headed back to Fallujah at this point?
No, this time I went to the Al-Qaim region. So I was on the border of Syria. Al-Qaim. So I was in Husayba and Karabala. It's right on. It's northwestern part, right on board. Like I could throw a rock, and we got blown up in Syria at one point. Because
you'll have to touch on that.
We didn't get like we got mixed up with the lines. That was like the first week that we were there. Humvee blew up. The whole front of it came off. The gunner flew out like 30 feet. That was an experience. Everybody walked away though. That was cool.
Like, not that you're like self-exalting yourself, but did that have a lot to do with the skills that you had?
No, that didn't. Actually, that one, I'm trying to think of who was in the Humvee. I think I treated them when they came back because we were so close. Like, our little place that we were staying was here, and they got blown up like right here.
Wow.
And then they came back to me. Actually, I wasn't even with the platoon at that point because remember, this was really early on. That happened early on. Then no. See, I'm trying to.
A little foggy.
Yeah, there's a lot. So then my buddy, who I was on my first deployment with. This is one of those stories. This is what kind of started leading me to like, I need to start finding where God's at because I'm not seeing him anywhere. My one buddy, they were out on a foot patrol, and I was back. We had this little tiny BAS with like 3 corpsmen, and I was on that day with them. And my buddy, IED went off, and on their foot patrol, man, he got blown up pretty good. A bunch of guys got peppered, and it was just chaos. QRF went out and got him, and brought him back to the BAS. And so I helped. So I got him now into the BAS. This, I would say, yes, had to do with, like, this is where skills really started. I never really got into the skills part of stuff, but this is one of those that skills came into play. And his whole, man, I remember him coming to us, and I'm just like looking at him, and I'm like, oh crap, it's Guerrero, like it's my buddy. And and he was so scared, and he didn't realize even how bad he was. Like, I had to like put his eye back into his socket and like hold it, and he's the whole time grabbing my flak and like, Doc, you gotta, like, don't let me die, like, come on, like, you gotta help me. I'm like, Guerrero, I got you, dude, like, you're gonna be okay. And we had an IDC with us too, and he was awesome, and like he knew what he was doing, and he was working. And I'm like cutting his flak off, and I'm like help get him stable, and holding his face basically together. And he doesn't remember any of this, by the way, too. I finally got a hold of him like years later, and we got to talk a little bit.
That's so awesome.
And I remember just, I'm praying, and I'm helping with him, and we called a bird in, and like we got him medevaced really quick, and like the whole time he's just holding on, he won't let go, and he's like, Doc, don't let me go, and he's like in and out, and so I helped get him on a bird, and then he was gone. And that's what they don't tell you. Like, your guys, like your buddies, man, like all this time that you're with them, they're gone. I didn't know where he went. I didn't even see him when he got back. He had like, you know, tens and tens and tens, and I don't know, like 50 surgeries. Like this guy, like his whole face was blown off. So that kind of like started there. Like, so now I'm praying and I'm like, man, all right, okay, God. I went through personal stuff on that one too. I had a girlfriend at that point, and it just wasn't going right. And I remember there'd be like gunfire going on and stuff, and I'm like get on the top of a roof with my guys, and I'm trying to use a sat phone to like call my girlfriend to be like, hey, where you at? What's going on? Like, wow, stuff is happening. Like, it was wild. But so this guy, this corpsman Sayre, he dies, and he burnt in the Humvee. It got blown up, and the way it's described to me is that the rounds started cooking off the 50 cal. I don't know, like I've heard that's possible. I heard it's not. Either way, he couldn't get out. And so as hard as that is, now I'm going to go ahead and take his spot. And that's hard to take somebody's spot anyhow, because they've developed these relationships, and like, that's their doc. Like, that's their doc, not me. But fortunately I knew a lot of the guys. So we started doing that. And then I started relieving some of the other guys from other platoons around the city. So I would go out to their position, and I would stay, and take over some of the stuff that they were doing. My one buddy, I took over for him, and this is where I started to like see some of the nastiness of that culture, right? So remember, culture is one of the things that stays with me most about all of my time, was culture, and how I learned like what hate looks like, what evil kind of looks like. I don't know how to describe it other than like just what evil looks like. And I won't tell that story because we don't have time, but I will tell you the one story that got me, where I really started, okay, number one, that corpsman died, and I went back to the rear for a minute, and I went to this chapel that they had, and nobody was in it, and I just got a Bible, and I just opened it up, and I went to a psalm. It took me to a psalm, and it was the psalm that talks about the vengeance of God. Like, it's his vengeance. Because, man, I was so tired. I was just, like, so tired of watching people die. And, like, I hated that I was in somebody else's country on their stupid land trying to figure out their stupid problems. These aren't my problems. Why the heck can't you guys figure out? Can't you figure this out? Why do I have to be here and get in the middle of your crap? Because that's all it was. No, I'll get fired up. It's just a bunch of tribes that keep fighting each other over crap, and then we get in the middle of it, and we're the ones that get caught up in it. Man, you guys have your way with one another. I was so tired of it, and then I have to deal with them like every single day. Like, I have to listen to their like whining and moaning, and like I got so hard and so angry and so cynical, man. I just hated. It took me a long time to get over the hate towards that culture and even people, man. And so God started to soften me up there, because I started to realize, like, it's not about me. It's not about, it's not my retaliation. It's not my vengeance. It's God's. Like, he's going to have to take care of this, because I don't see any other way around it. And he just started softening me up. And then I had to go, so now there's this pivotal point in my deployment. And this is probably one of those things that, like, man, you hear from everybody. Like, if you talk to some guys, like, I think the big thing is for them is that it's not necessarily it wasn't the first time that I saw rounds being fired at me or like tracer rounds like coming over my head. It wasn't about the different, like, when somebody's shooting at you. They know, when somebody's shooting in your direction, but no, there's a different sound when they're shooting at you. Like, it sounds different. And so it wasn't those moments where I was like, oh, that I have trouble with. It's these other moments. It's these human moments. These, I remember being on patrol, and every day that we went by this girl's house, her family, as punishment, dipped her. This girl, like probably 6 years old, dipped her in boiling hot water, and she had burns. You could see the burns on her body, and I had to go, and they, you know what they did with her? They laid her out on a mattress in the courtyard outside, just laid there all day, all night. And so I would go there, and this other guy, the other corpsman, he told me about her, and he's like, you got to go visit her. Like, you got to keep up with the care. And I was like, all right, man, I got you. Like, no big deal. Until I saw her, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
And those are the people that you're defending.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, I'm giving her candy because, dude, I had no pain medication for her. I can't hit her up with morphine. Like, I can't. Right. That'd be like every day, and she'd be on it forever. So I'm like giving her candy. I mean, I took my flak off, my Kevlar off, and I, like, the Marines I was with were so awesome, dude. They would like post up outside, and they'd let me like go in there. But what they didn't see was like the pain that this girl was going through, and like I had to rip off. It wasn't like I had the greatest medicine or greatest like bandages or anything. These are like individual bandages that I'm ripping off of her, and then having to put like silver sulfonamide like on her, and that's not for it works. It worked. I think she's alive. But like, and she doesn't understand me. There's no interpreter. Like, I'm just trying to like be like, this is going to hurt. She has no idea what I'm going to say, but I'm giving her candy, and I'm like, take the candy. And then I'm ripping this stuff off, and the family just they didn't care, man. I didn't even see her family.
Wow.
She's just laying on this dirty mattress out in the dirt. Oh man, it was so bad, in the middle of a city. What you would call a city. Anyhow, so it's these moments like that, this like you're desensitized to like being a human, and that's what I couldn't do, and God just was starting to soften me. So as I'm doing this, and as I have this encounter with God through the psalm, and I'm just kind of like hearing him talk to me and like calm me down and give me this peace about some things. I was on QRF then, and so QRF, like the quick reaction force. So anything that would happen that they needed help, they would call us, and we would go out, and we would take over, reinforce them. And so I remember, and so you guys know how much I love food. It wasn't different over there. So I loved food, and the only time, like, I literally like had this tray of, man, dogs eat better, but it was hot, and like I was so hungry, and I sat down. And I unzipped my flight suit, and I just sat there, and I was like, I'm going to eat. And next thing I know, it's like, QRF up. And I'm like, what? No. I'm like, oh. And so they took us out to a Jordanian hospital. And this is one of those, like, I don't remember the last time I talked about this. So forgive me.
Well, and just know too that you don't have to hit on everything if you don't feel comfortable about talking about it. So
no, this is one of those things that like God showed me some things.
Okay, awesome.
And this will probably be like the last story of this stuff. And this is one of those things that like through all of my treatment that I've ever had to have, like exposure therapy and stuff like that, this is that one thing where I had to listen. Hey Megan, I'm glad you came. I'm glad you came here during this segment.
Perfect time.
And it was definitely a trigger moment. And so we get out to this hospital and I'm like, all right, well, like what's going on? There's this huge crowd at the hospital. That's never good. And we pull up and we do like 360 security. We get out of the vehicles and everything. And I'm standing out there with one of my buddies. Jesse is his name. And, next thing I know, I hear this, Doc, you gotta get up here. And I was like, what's going on? Like, okay. So I go up and they're like, hey, we're going to need you to do something. And I'm like, well, what? And so it had just rained too. So what I need you to know about this is that it never rains. And once a deployment, it rains, and it rained. And then it was brutally hot then. Like we're talking like heat that we don't quite understand. And so, you know, with rain and heat, there's a smell that comes with that. Well, there's also a smell that comes with flesh, like burnt flesh. And so you add rain to burnt flesh, and then you add heat to burnt flesh, and it's this putrid death smell. Like it's so bad. And I'm like, what is that awfulness? And my buddy that I was on security with, he walks up with me, and he's like there as all this is going down, and the guys are like, yeah, over here. And like I look, remember there's this big crowd of people, and there's a bunch of Iraqi police, which that's a whole nother story about them. But they're standing over there too, and so there's all these civilians and these Iraqi police, and then there's a couple, like this huge, it was just one pickup truck, and in the pickup truck was this mound of bodies, and I was like, what's going on there? And they're like, well, that's what we need your help with. And I'm like, well, I can help with stuff, but I don't quite know what you're asking me to do. And they're like, well, we need to check to make sure that none of these guys are HVTs, like high value targets. And I was like, well, yeah, you guys can do that. Like, what do you need me for? And I should have known, because my buddy, like, I looked over like, what do they need? And then he's not there. And I'm like, oh geez, this isn't good.
Yeah.
And so I walk up to this truck, and they're like, I need you to take off all of these bodies from the truck and line them up. And then we're going to get retinal scans and to make sure that they're not HVTs. And I was like, yeah, I'm just one guy. Like they're like, you're it. And I'm like, what? And like, I'm walking around this truck just looking at like, where do I even start? So they weren't just like neatly placed. These guys were riddled with rounds. They were burnt. They were missing limbs. They're missing their head. Like, there was so much. And I just remember, like, in that moment, oh man, I was just like, God, I don't know how I'm going to do this, because I can handle a lot. Like, I can handle a lot. I don't know if I can handle this. And I remember getting mad. So I'm mad because I have to do this. And there was one Marine that got up on the truck. He's like, Doc, I'll help you. And I'm like, thanks, man. So I proceed to grab what I could, whatever body, remember, and they're naked too. Like, I mean, it's just, they're missing things. Like, and so I'm pulling at limbs or whatever, anything I can grab to get them off the truck. And remember, they've been in the rain and in the heat this whole, like, for the whole day. This is the evening at this point. And there's this whole crowd watching too. I'm pulling these guys off, and their heads are hitting the cement, and their brain is bouncing out of their head. And it's going, and it's rolling over to like wherever. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm losing my stuff at this point, because I'm like, we don't need to do this. This is like, and I remember a kid coming, one of these parents like allowed their kid to come up, and
and just watch all of this happening. And I was like, that's it. I like lost my crap. And I'm just like, get these guys out of here. Like they should not be anywhere. They didn't care. They weren't going anywhere. And so I'm doing this. And then two of the Iraqi police guys take a guy's brain and are playing soccer with a guy's brain, like in front of these kids, and everything was normal to them. It was just normal. They were just like laughing and playing around. Oh my gosh, man. I was like losing. That's what an out of body, like when you were
yeah.
I don't feel like I was
Wow.
me. And I remember walking to the side of the pickup truck, and I remember just being like, God, I'm looking at this guy who took a round like to the head and to the face. And it's not that bothers me. What bothered me is that I'm looking at this guy and his eyes are just like soulless. And I was thinking about something like, God, how could you allow this to happen? Like these guys don't know, like they died for their God, their little G God. And they think they're going somewhere with virgins and like celebration and like, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, and their souls, they're gone. They've got no other chance, Lord. And then I'm looking at him and he's like, I feel like he's telling me to look again. And I look at him and I just remember this overwhelming feeling of like, I'm looking at somebody who loved their God so much that they gave their life for their God willingly. But yet I think about the people and my friends and my family, and it takes everything to get them just to go to church on Sundays.
Here we go.
And I'm like, God, how in the world can there be people who live and follow a false God, but yet you're a real God, and we can't come and like, I don't know anybody that would do this for you. Wow. But I'm here picking up these guys' bodies. What makes me any better than them? And so this like inner turmoil and this inner conversation starts happening with me. And I just remember God being like, don't be like, go home changed. I didn't know what that meant, but like, I'm changed at this point, but I'm not okay, because now I got to pull all these bodies off. And as I'm pulling all these bodies off, everything's falling out. Nobody's helping me. And now I get them all out and lined up. And these two, Army, dude, I'm telling you what, these two Army guys come up and they're like, hey, like, you're going to have to do something with their eyes because we can't get retinal scans. I'm like, I don't got to do nothing for you. And they're like, well, I don't know. Like, you have to. And I'm like, what do you mean I have to? And they're like, we got to get the retinal scans. And like, we don't have anything to like, we don't know what we're doing. You're the corpsman. And I'm like, I'm going to throw you through a wall.
Yeah.
And, but I was like, I'm hungry. And, so I got, this was bad. I got, alcohol swabs, and I had to go and I had to pry open each and every one of their eyes. And I had to wipe their eyes off with alcohol swabs so they could get retinal scans on these guys. So I'm cleaning. Not only did I have to I had to pull these bodies out and like watch all this happen and like yell at people, humans kicking around, and then have this crisis with God. And then now I'm wiping soulless.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
It was your turning point.
Yeah. I'm done, dude. I'm done. And they were like, I was like, I'm out. Like, I did everything you asked me to do. They're like, thanks, Doc. Hey, can you put them back on the truck? And I was like, I'm one person. They're like, yeah, you got to put them back on the truck. And so that one Marine helped me load every single one of those bodies back onto that truck. And I just remember leaving there and going back to where I was staying and just kind of lost it. But that's when God started too. Like, he started, I got to see stuff that people, like, as much as I hate that and I see that, like, I used to have to tell this story from first person or third person. I don't know. Like I was reliving it, like this exposure therapy. And I had to record it onto like digital recorder, and then I had to listen to it every night and like relive so I could get more comfortable with like, hey, I'm not okay that it happened, but I know that it happened, so I'm okay that it happened.
Yeah.
But I haven't talked about that, man, for so long, so I'm really sorry that it got like this.
No, you're good.
No, it's good.
I know a lot of guys that would be like, man, that guy's such a girl.
No, it's definitely not the case at all. Yeah, I mean, that's why I was just, I totally, yeah, I get it. It's just, that's why I was going to say, if there's nothing you didn't want to talk about on camera, that's perfectly fine. But
that's as much as you're going to get from me on that one.
What'd you say?
That's as much as you're going to get from me on that.
Yeah,
So.
no, that's good. And I think you did a really good job at just transitioning, and that's kind of where you said that you first had that encounter with God where you're like, this is it. Like
yeah, that changed some stuff for me with God. Like I had to work through some stuff with him, but I think, God's okay with us wrestling.
Yeah.
Like he can handle us. Like he can handle it. And that's where I got to start wrestling. Yeah. I wish I could say like everything went smoothly for the rest of my life, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would love to go for 3 hours, but I was going to say, like, I guess we can just kind of highlight like the next big thing that I know is part of your testimony, and just like post-military.
Yeah.
If you want to just kind of get into that, and now we can just really get into how God led you to being a pastor from that military career and everything that you'd been through to now. You're serving Christ with your whole life and your whole being every single day.
Yeah, man. I went through the military, right? Got out of the military. We moved back east. We had I had another deployment in there after that. And then in 2000 the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, I moved back to central Pennsylvania, and ended up getting accepted to Lock Haven University. And I don't know, man, like something happened. Like I was fired up, man. I was like not settling for anything, and I was like, I'm gonna try this school thing again. There's a lot of shame and stuff in that too for me, because I have brothers and my brother and my sister both had college degrees. Like they're all like, they're great, they're smart, they're I always was like, I guess I'm dumb or something, right? I think I fit it, dude. I think in like high school there's like, I was like probably like 5 away from the lowest in my class. Like, and there's like, I don't know, maybe like 250, 300 people in my class. Like, so yeah, I went to Lock Haven. I got, I started to study. I studied health sciences, and I got my undergraduate in health sciences, summa cum laude too. So like my GPA was like a 3.98, like 3.97 or something.
Wow.
And I got accepted into PA school, which is a whole nother God story that we don't have time for. So I went to grad school to be a physician assistant. I graduated in 2019 from Lock Haven PA school. I already had a contract to start working with neurosurgery, and I went to take my exam, and I failed. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I mean, I'm not the greatest student. I wasn't the greatest student. It took me longer because, remember, I'm old at this point, like when it comes to that kind of stuff with like school and stuff. Like I was pretty old. Like I think I started school again when I was like 33. And so it took me twice as long, I would say, to learn the stuff that you young kids, like, man, it's like not for me. It took long. Plus I knew all of how you do it in the field rather than how the book tells you to do it. So that was very conflicting for me.
Very different.
Yeah. But at that point is when I gotta this is part of the Jesus part where I really want you guys to hear, because I think people need to hear this.
Absolutely.
I think if there's one thing in my life that
that I'll always point to him for is that there was a question that you had on that paper about like, what made you, or did the enemy convince you that it was about like coming back to God, like him welcoming you back or something. That it was a really good question, and I wanted to hit on it because people need to understand this.
Was it this one? After all that, what led you to your turning point? What moment made you realize you needed something deeper, that you needed God?
Maybe. But I guess I'll just make up the question.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Because it's what your question led me to. Because after I graduated, man, this is where like I had my daughter in when I was in school. Man, my wife, like, man, I was never home. Like when I say never home, for 6 years, all I did was school. I did it full time. Wow. I did not, like, I would come home for dinner for 20 minutes and I would go back to school and study until 1 a.m. I was not present, and it was for purpose. But at this point, I'm going to church now too. Like I found a home in church. And when I didn't tell you, man, there's so much that we didn't touch on with my wife and our marriage. Man, we should not be married still. The battle of the mind for me after the military took a huge toll. Man, I'm sorry. I wish we had more time that I could explain that stuff, because all of it points to hope. Like, wow. But I want what I would want people to know about what I'm about to say too is that, man, I've made so many mistakes, and I've made some of the same mistakes. And drinking became a huge part of my life and even my marriage. And it led to really, really horrible things in my marriage early on. And God brought us out of it. And it was like he delivered us from it. Mm-hmm. And what do you think me and my wife turned to after I graduated and failed that exam? I turned to drinking.
Same thing.
Same thing. We turned to the same thing. The same thing that God was like, no, man, this isn't for you. I made you different. Like, and our prayer became, hey, God, if this offends you, will you let us know? Like, we prayed about it. We were like, can we do this? And for a summer, we drank a lot. And, we were so exhausted, like just from the school and the grind and her with the kids. And we escaped. So it's crazy that he does all of these amazing things for you. And he showed himself in such amazing ways for me and for Allie. And he mended and he restored and redeemed our marriage. Like, no one should come out of the things that we came out of. We shouldn't have our 4 kids. But we do. And what did I do the first opportunity I had? I went to my old ways. I went to what used to get me out of the things, what it used to pull me away from him. I went back to it. And man, when you do something like that, something changes.
Yeah.
And we would drink, and then we would drink too much, and we'd be like, God, we know that's not okay. But can we still do it if we don't do it that much? And like, almost like it was like, hey, God, would you bless me and what I'm doing and what I'm touching? Would you get me where I need to go? But can I also do this? It's like, he's like, are you dumb? Like, now looking back, it's like, what was I thinking? What were we thinking? And so I remember I remember a night I went out with some old college friends and came back home, and I woke up the next day and I was just like, what just happened? Like, how did I end up back here? And I remember God, like, almost, I mean, if, like, it's a still quiet voice. And usually when he speaks to me, it's not something over elaborating it's not a lot of words. And what I felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me at this moment was, like, in this mess that I was in, was like, exactly where this leads, and it leads to death. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh.
And I remember calling Allie. She was out with the kids doing something because she knew, like, and I told her, I was like, we can't, it's over. This is over. We're not doing this anymore. And she was like, yeah, okay, awesome. Like, so we stopped. So then I started studying again, and I failed again, my exam. Now I'm starting to think, like, this is just consequence.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he couldn't trust me, right? And so then I took a year. Well, about a year, almost a year. I took a year. And I still had that position too. They were like, we'll just push back start dates and stuff. And after the second time, they were like, we'll push back start date. Like,
it became your whole identity. Like,
yep,
that's
100%.
everything that my purpose is to go and
yeah. And it was even something that I was going to use this was my thought behind everything. Like, how can I bring God into the confines of medicine? And listen to me. I got it so wrong. It's all about, how do I bring medicine into the confines of God?
Right.
It's not, you don't bring him into things.
Right.
You don't ask him to follow you.
Yep.
You don't
So
say, hey,
good.
God, I'm going here. Will you come with me?
Yep.
He's like, no, I'm going here and you better come with me.
Yes.
You told me you're willing.
I lead, you follow.
I lead, you follow.
Yep.
So there were these inner things started happening. The enemy really got hard on me now. I went through some pretty deep stuff, like very deep, dark depressions. Like I have always had ADHD, imagine that. And like throughout school, like even at Lockhaven and stuff, they were like, man, you gotta, Christian, listen, your test taking ability, like it's not, you're overthinking everything. You're not. And I'm like, I don't know how to stop it. Like, I'm just me. Like, and they're like, you need to be on medication. You need to be on medication. You need to be on medication. So finally I was like, fine, I'll just go on the medication. I'll just start studying. And man, I started studying. I would sit for 8 hours a day, and I would study for 5 days a week, sitting during COVID at a nursing home as an armed security guard. And I did that for 8 months. And then I went and took my exam again. And I failed my exam. I put myself back through didactic year of PA school. There is nothing that I didn't touch. There was no rock unturned. There was nothing, man. I could not figure it out. And now I'm starting to get angry with God. And now I'm starting to think, man, this is consequence. And I started to really suffer mentally, man. I got rid of the medication because I really feel like that was playing a part in it. And like, I got so depressed. This is when I was still on social media, and people were like reaching out to me from like high school and stuff, like, Christian, you okay? And I'm like over explaining, like, because I was in such a dark spot. I was screaming for somebody to help me because this is what I felt. I felt like God had left me. I felt like God was telling me, you've done it. Oh my, what is wrong with you? You did it again. I brought you out of that desert, and you ran back to the desert, and you said, why am I getting manna? Give me meat. Right. And he's like, fine, I'll give you meat. And now you get meat, and you think I left you. And so now he's starting to like, he's really, man, he's taking me to the depths of his word. Now his word is starting to frighten me. Now his word is starting to condemn me. Now I'm thinking, man, did I sell my birthright for a bowl of soup? And then I'm reading in Hebrews, and I'm reading all these 2 Peter, and like all of these things that want to, you take out of context. And if you take it out of context, so here's the thing. What I started to realize is, you know what? Like I started to be like, God, I can't do this. Like I was getting pretty dark. There was some pretty dark stuff. And I was like, God, I can't do this. I need you. I don't even know if you're here anymore. Actually, Pastor John was still there, and like, Pastor Jay was walking through some stuff with me too, and Pastor John was like, Christian, like I had conversations with him, and he's trying to help me out, and like he's like I'm like, because I started reading about David and how like he's like, don't remove your spirit from me, and like I'm thinking, man, does he remove my spirit from me? And like I'm seeking him, and I'm like running after him, and I'm like, what is going on? This is what was going on. How could I think that the enemy doesn't know the word of God? If he used the word of God to try and convince Christ himself to go back on what he was called to do, what in the world makes me think that he's not going to come at somebody like me? Some nobody who screwed up everything in his life anyhow.
So true.
And so he had me in that spot. And so I need people to know that these are the things that the enemy that he convinced me of. And thanks be to God that there was a woman, like an older woman, like my mom's age, who took the time to breathe life back into me. It was a kid that I got to know really well in high school, in middle school and high school. He moved from Michigan, and I got to know his mom. I used to be scared of his mom too. And somehow we connected, and she's in Kentucky, and man, she just started calling the lies out. She just started, that's the enemy. That's a lie. Then I started to learn about the two voices. There's always two voices speaking to you. You've got an adversary, a real adversary that's speaking to you, and he sounds condemning, and he's going to condemn you. You know why? Because misery loves company. He's the only one that is condemned if you believe in Christ. But he's always coming at you as the adversary. And then there's the other voice, and that's the advocate. And the advocate is going to be convicting, yes. But God says that he disciplines the ones that he loves. It's okay for discipline. Mm-hmm. But that's not condemnation. And we can't confuse the two. Yep. Because the one that's coming from the advocate, Jesus, who is sitting at the right hand speaking amazing things about Jacob Borowicz to God the Father, look at him. His voice is going to sound still. It's going to sound loving. It's going to be corrective, but it's not going to be condemning. And so I started to learn about that. Then I started to learn this. And somebody helped me articulate this really well. What the enemy wants you to be convinced of after you've maybe done something over and over again, or you've been, God has like literally removed you from that desert and you've run back to it. It's the dog returning to the vomit.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Jesus will never deny you. If you turn and you're sorrowful, right? And you repent and you come back to him, he's going to be like, I'm pulling the chair out. There's a seat at my table for you. Yeah. But what the enemy is convincing you is that seat now is taken. You're not welcome at this table anymore. You're not allowed here. God doesn't want you here. You've done too much. And that's where I was for a long time. And then I failed my exam the third time. Like, I can't make this up. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm going to quit this whole armed guard stuff. And I had my like Act 235 or something like I had to get. So like I had to drive around medical marijuana everywhere around the state of Pennsylvania like some idiot. Old Billy. Yeah. And I was like, God, I'm done. I'm like, I'm going to go work in medicine somewhere. Somebody's got to take me for something. Like, I've got all this experience. So I ended up going to Evan and working in their COVID testing center for a while. Then that shut down, and they liked me. So I went and worked for Sun Orthopedics as a medical assistant. A physician assistant to a medical assistant. Like, you want to talk about humble, right?
Wow.
And so I did that for a while, and
you can totally see now that God had a purpose for that, though.
Oh yeah.
He was literally creating Pastor Christian Hoch.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. It's really hard to see that sometimes, but I have over the past probably year, I've gotten to like see it, because now I can't take my exam again. Time has passed. So I'm a failure. Like, in all sense of the word, I'm a failure. But that's who God uses.
That's the whole reason why we're even having this conversation today.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
wouldn't
true.
be here if there wasn't failure involved. And like, I think we get scared of failing, and like, man, I think God does his biggest and greatest work in us when there's failure, because it's not final, right? Like, it's not the final thing. Like,
so true.
I think that's when it all happened for me. And then your dad
your dad
Yeah.
reached out to me and was like, this is going to sound crazy. He actually didn't say that yet. He said, hey man, why don't you and Allie and the kids come over to the house? We'll have dinner. And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, why are you being so like professional? Like,
Right.
I was like, and number two, dinner? Are you going to order it? Cause I know nobody's making it, you know, like we going to McDonald's? Like,
Yeah, right. No one specifically.
right. And,
Wink, wink.
yeah. And, he's like, Christian, just come over to the house. I was like, okay. And so me and Allie went over to the house and we sat down with him and he's sitting there like he does. And he's like, that's when he was like, this is going to sound crazy. And I was like, hit me, you know? And he was like, I've been praying a lot and we've been praying a lot. And, I think I'd like you to maybe, what do you think about ministry and stuff? And I was like, well, what are you asking me? Like, you want me to like step up and do some more? I'm like, man, I'm game, dude. Like whatever you need. Maybe he just wants us to like be a couple that somebody we can help walk some life out with or something. And Allie, love you, babe. She's just like blunt. She's like, are you asking Christian to be a pastor? And I was like, what? I like looked at her. I'm like, stop. Like, you're embarrassing me. And your dad's sitting there and he's just like, well, and I was like, whoa. He's like, I know it sounds crazy. I know. I've been on this medicine journey. I know you're on this medical journey and like all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, dude. Well, I don't know what this looks like, but we got to pray. And like, we start praying and like, we didn't even know if it would be pastoral. We didn't know how it would all pan out, but we started to take the steps. And I think that's another thing to learn is like, hey, you might not know you know how people are like, well, are you called? Yeah, you're called. Jacob, you're called.
Yep.
Braden, you're called. Mm-hmm. What's the call? Like, he calls you by name. And so we get this thing where it's like, well, are you called to be in ministry? Well, I don't know, but every time I've been called to something, I know I have to take a step of faith. And I know one thing about faith, it's never certain, like not in my human mind. So, it wouldn't be called a step of faith. It'd be called a step of certainty.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so we just started praying and he started answering questions for us. And me and Allie, like our thing is like, if Jesus is asking, it's always yes. It's always yes. Yep. If Jesus is asking, it's always yes. And so we started walking down the doors that he would open and we asked him to close any door that he didn't want us to go down. And here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Sorry that took so long, dude.
No, it in reality, I mean, that's probably a 7-hour conversation.
Nobody's going to listen to this because it's so long.
That's not true at all. That's not true at all. Oh no, this is why we do what we do. It's all about this. Yeah. The only other question I have, that's a great way to end it. The only other small question I had, like, what would you say was like that moment when you were like, I'm not dipping into the world anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'm just, because I know that God's done that in your life prior to being a pastor, but like, what was that moment before you met with my dad and took those steps on becoming a pastor? Like, what was the moment where you were just like,
could I rephrase that real quick?
Yeah,
please.
I just think it's really impactful to hear a story where it's super relatable for people, like especially with falling back into things that you've fallen into. And I would say if he could give us one message to people that are maybe struggling or going through something really similar that you went through, like what would your message be?
I think that's a better question because that's a really multi-pronged.
Sorry, that might open a whole other can of worms.
That's his whole story. That's his whole story.
It is because it's never been this
exactly
specific moment. It's been a relinquishing constantly.
Sanctification of coming back to the Lord and realizing that you're in need of Him. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
I'm glad. So to yours, I think is number one. If you're, I've run into too many people that know that they want to listen. Your flesh, stop denying that you don't want something. Like your flesh wants something, whatever it is, whatever sin, whatever idol, whatever it is, your flesh wants it.
It's crying out. It screams out.
Yep.
So stop denying that your flesh, like, God, I don't want to why do I do what I don't? Paul says it. Like, why do I do what I don't want to do? But what I want to do, I don't do.
Yep.
It's like, well, thanks be to God, because I learn now that my weakness is what leads me to the strength. Like, I'm made strong in my weakness, right? Because I turn to Him. So I think if I could speak to people that if there's somebody who's like, man, I'm feeling like this, and I don't know why this is what's being pressed on me right now. Maybe it's somebody that needs to hear this, but it's specifically about marriages. I don't know who it is. Maybe I'm not going to hyper spiritualize this, but for some reason I keep coming back to this marriage thing. And if there's somebody who's thinking right now that it might be greener on the other side, or like, I just want to be happy, or I want to be joyful, or, I don't know. I need you to hear this now. You need to seek somebody out. You need to seek wise counsel out, biblical counsel out. You have to, because I wish that somebody would have told me sound biblical truth of what I was about to walk through before I did, that there were people rooting for me that were kind of like saying, like, listen, God will love you through this, but I'm telling you, your relationship with Him will look a lot different. It will feel like there's no seat at the table anymore if you follow through with this. I'm telling you, it is so hard to come back when you willfully sin. When you willfully walk something out, it is hard to come back from that. And that's not because God's not willing to come back. It's not because God's not there. It's because this hardening comes over.
So true.
And so it's like he gives you over to your desire. And so I would say, like, whatever it is, whether it's marriage and decisions in marriage, whether it's dabbling in other things that you know you shouldn't be, whatever that looks like for you, hear from somebody who's walked through it. It's not worth it. If you have wise people telling you that, or brothers and sisters in Christ that are telling you, like, hey, listen, this road you're going down, it's going to be difficult to come back if you cross that line. There's a line in the sand. And it's real difficult to come back from that. And even when you come back from it, God's going to use you to remind people not to cross the line. And so if I could be that voice for somebody to be like, hey, man, or hey, lady, like, think about what you're doing. Because what you're doing, like, God has done so much for us. Like, He is so... He's our, remember how we were talking before? Like, He's literally my only hope. Yep. I've made so many mistakes that He's literally my only hope when I get up to see the man, the creator of all things. I'm going to point to Jesus and be like, God, I don't deserve to be here, but you told me this guy.
So powerful.
My man.
Yep.
Like, He's got me.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the gospel. Yeah.
So don't walk blindly over that line.
Yeah.
Like, take wise advice. Counsel.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Can't end it any better than that.
No, just thank you so much for
appreciate you coming on.
It's just so rare nowadays for people to be vulnerable and authentic. But then what we don't realize is that is actually what sparks revival, and that's actually what sparks people to turn to Jesus. Is whenever you have someone who's experienced many things that the world has had to offer and has turned to Jesus, and is still choosing Jesus to this day, because he realizes that the answer is not in anything that the world has to offer, but it really comes from what Jesus has to offer. And I'm super moved by your story, and I've known Christian for a really long time, and I've never really gotten his full testimony, and that's just so powerful, man. And I'm just truly believing that it's going to touch so many people's lives, and it just means a lot that you came on and took all this time to come and just share your heart. So thank you so much.
Yeah, dude. It's an honor to, like, get to, man, I don't get to share testimonies too much anymore. You know, It's like, oh, you're the pastor, you're supposed to have it all together. I'm like, nope, I don't. But yeah, man, I think continue to count the cost. Like, and like we were talking about, man, keep picking up that cross, man.
Yep.
It doesn't get easier because you decided to follow Jesus.
Right.
Nope.
Yo, it gets harder.
Mm-hmm.
If they persecuted him, what makes us think that they ain't gonna persecute us?
Yep.
You know?
So true.
It's gonna happen.
Yep.
So
You got anything else to say, bro?
No.
Alrighty. Well, thank you again, Pastor
Yeah.
Christian. Thank
Love
you for
you
all
guys.
that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
dude.
you too.
We'll always be here. Hopefully, maybe have you on again.
yeah, dude, I can talk about my marriage because that was we didn't even talk about.
Yeah.
Touch on.
We skipped through a lot of things.
Yeah. There's a huge gap in there,
But,
but that's okay. I know I talk a lot, so
Yeah. No, but I'd love to have you on again, and so just thank you so much for coming on, and we
Yeah.
appreciate it. Hopefully, it touched you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.